You may be wondering what we're doing here, but up there where there's a duvet hanging is where Codewise had their first office. It's bizarre to be here now, 6 years later. It reminds me of the song Started from the Bottom, but now we're back here, so okay, it doesn't remind me of that song. But it's first time I met the guys from Codewise. I arrived in Krakow. I think it was my second time in Krakow in my life. Took a taxi, I think it was winter, it was really dark and kind of gloomy, and arrived here wondering, where's the office? And I rang the doorbell, and I remember an old lady opening the door, asking, you know, can I help you? I'm like, I'm looking for the boys from Codewise. And she's like, oh, they're upstairs. So I walked up, walked up the stairs, up the 2 flights of stairs, opened the door, and there's 4 guys sitting there, 3 founders and one of their employees at that time. I remember they were sitting and working around a pool table. They didn't even have desks. They were just hunched over a pool table working on my first startup, which I'll tell you about in a little bit, but yeah. This is it. This is where it all began. That is where...
One question. Why are you filming this house?
Sorry?
You are filming this house, yes?
Yes.
What is the problem?
There's no problem. I used to have an office here.
Sorry?
Kiedyś miałem tutaj biuro, robimy tylko vloga.
Tak?
Żeby pokazać ludziom, jak daleko zaszliśmy, jak zaczynaliśmy słownie.
Aż tak źle?
Nie, po prostu to pierwsze biuro było. Pierwszy raz tu 6 lat przyjechałem, pamiętam, poznałem chłopaków wtedy.
Robert, tak?
Tak,
Masz
tak,
na
tak.
imię.
Bartka, Szymona i Rafała.
Aha, i ty teraz prowadzisz ten Codewise.
Tak, już się rozstaliśmy.
Rozstaliście się, wiem. I teraz chyba na Lubicz jesteś.
Mam nadzieję, że nie przeszkadza.
Nie, tylko zdziwiłam
A,
się, bo tak
wiem,
jakiś
to
czas tu
nietypowe
słyszę
trochę.
cały czas i się zdziwiłam, że cały czas ten budynek,
A.
więc dlatego wyszłam. Dobra.
Szybciutko i zamykamy. Did you get that?
That was awesome, I get it.
We could put English subtitles under that, actually. That was really good, actually. It's incredible. So, since we started filming this vlog, I've been getting a lot of questions from especially young people just asking, like, Rob, what do you think we should study at university or college to maximize our chance of, becoming an entrepreneur or something? And I guess I've never really addressed this publicly, but I barely graduated from high school. I was a terrible student. I barely got into university. I did a terrible job there as well. So, if you want my honest opinion, like, I don't feel education of any sort can help you become an entrepreneur. It's all up to you. So a lot of people seem to think that, my success was somehow all planned and orchestrated. But when I started working with Codewise 6 years ago, we were working on my first startup, which ended up actually going bankrupt. It failed miserably. But the important thing is that I was doing something. I had no idea where I was going, but I was doing something. And it's what I always repeat, is that doing is the most important thing. And even though my first startup failed, it was the most important experience of my life, which led to me really understanding what was required to build something successful later. So as you can see, Codewise had humble beginnings on the top floor there, sat around a pool table. It's easy to forget that every huge company in the world, every successful company in the world starts somewhere in a garage, in mom's basement, in someone's attic. But that's where you start, and it's up to you how far you want to go. And now I want to show you guys our second office, our later offices that we moved into as we grew, and tell you more of our story of how it all progressed. So let's go. This here is where Codewise had its second office. It's actually an apartment complex. By this time, I was their only client, and they had enough money to move from what we just saw to a small apartment here. And I remember I realized that for this first startup of mine to really work, I needed to spend more time with them. So I was commuting from Warsaw to Krakow by train. And and spending 2, 3, or 4 days, and then going back usually for the weekend to Warsaw. And I would sleep on this tiny red IKEA couch, which you probably recollect. It's like the cheapest couch you can get in IKEA. That was my bed when I came to visit the guys, just so I could, save some money to have more to invest into the company. And at this point, they hired one more person, I think. So it was 5 total, and 6 with me. And then we moved to our third office, which is actually just 100 meters over there. So we're gonna go check that out. Behind me, we have our third office, and by this point, things were going well. We had started Zero Park, still while based in the old office. We had done some share exchange, and I know you might be confused by me saying that I was a client of CodeWise. I wasn't one of the founders actually, but I don't want to get into that because that's a long story. I'm gonna put a link in the description to an interview that I did that covers a lot of that if you're interested in hearing more about that. But yeah, we had the 3rd floor in this building, and initially we looked at renting half of the 3rd floor, and once we were inside actually viewing it, I said, "F it, we're taking the whole floor," even though we couldn't afford it. The guys were like, "What the hell, are you crazy?" I'm like, first of all, yes. Second of all, I just had this gut feeling that this is gonna be something big. I had this crazy belief in what we were doing, and putting yourself in the position where you're renting an office that you can't really afford puts such a crazy pressure on you to work better and more effectively. And that was sort of my first discovery of what it is to be successful, is figuring out how to overcome your inherent laziness. I think every person by default is lazy, and successful people just learn to understand themselves so well that they know how to conquer that every single day systematically. And yeah, so renting that whole floor forced me to just do better, do things faster, and that's part of the key to our really rapid success. So a lot of people think success is some sort of destination, but it's actually the whole journey. And it's the journey of that first office I showed you, then moving to the second one, running out of space there. Then we ran out of space here, so thank goodness I took the whole floor, because otherwise we would have been screwed. And we started looking for our 4th office, and let's go check that out. Over here we have our 4th office. And it was in a palace, as you probably saw in episode 2. I signed a lease for the top 2 floors for 2 years. And part of this contract, we negotiated terms for the office building we're in currently. It was the same developer, the same company that built both. So we actually ended up signing a 7-year lease. 2 years here, after which they finished the office we're in currently, which we moved in late last year. And we have a 5-year lease there, where we have 3,000 square meters. So we went from 20 square meters in the first office, 60 in the second, 170 in the third, 700 in the fourth, and 3,000 in the fifth. And it just ties into what I said earlier, that success is the journey. If you don't enjoy the journey, success is meaningless. It's not like a destination where you make X amount of money. I think that's a huge misconception, because it's the process of doing something, of continuously striving towards, I guess, an unattainable goal. I don't feel there's any point in time where I'll be like, all right, this is success for me, I'm done. I want to keep going. You want to keep pushing your boundaries, as we did with these offices, as we do with our business. And that is honestly the most exciting thing in life, is just being in a position where you can continuously grow, continuously develop as a human, and just keep challenging yourself till the day you die. Just keep learning and keep struggling, because that's what defines your character. So to sum up this talk on success, if you really wanna be successful in some way or at something in this world, here's my advice to you as Bieda coach. Have a really, really honest conversation with yourself. I think that's a big part of success as well, is being honest with yourself and really getting to know yourself, understanding how your mind and your body works, and with time getting better and better at kind of figuring out how to get the best out of yourself, the best version of yourself. You wake up with a shitty mood. I have systematic approach which I showed you in the first episode, how I set myself up for success, to conquer the day, even, when I really feel like just hiding and staying in bed sometimes. But that's what successful people do, is they know how to overcome the things that stop most people from doing what they really want to do. Start off by asking yourself, how badly do you want it? What would you be willing to sacrifice to get where you want to go or to get what you want to get? Secondly, ask yourself, do you like try to catch yourself? Do you complain? Do you blame others? Or are you able to take full responsibility of everything around you? It's a really crucial thing because it just empowers you to do things you never thought imaginable before. And it's just like you keep learning more and more. And I feel like I am just really just touching the tip of the iceberg with myself, like really understanding how I work, getting more comfortable with myself. And it just opens more and more doors. And it's also, what else is important? It's important to be positive. I see a lot of negativity, especially like in this part of the world where people are often like jealous of your success and stuff. And I understand where that comes from, Having been a negative person myself, I told you I was depressed a lot of my life, and I felt like some sort of victim of this world, like a victim of society, like everything was against me. And one of the most important transitions in my life was really being honest with myself and realizing that I was behaving like a victim, like I was upset when someone succeeded as though it took away my chances for success. Really bizarre, unable to be happy for others, like genuinely. And I realized I was complaining a lot. My mom would call me Mr. Negative. I mean, just becoming so aware that this victim mindset was leading me to nowhere, where I sometimes, people hate on me on the internet. I understand where they're coming from. Those are people with a victim mindset. For the brief moment where they're talking crap about me, they feel good about themselves, and it's just like, you need to grow out of that. I grew out of that, and if I hadn't, I wouldn't be where I am today. Just fully taking responsibility for everything, all your surroundings, all your decisions. So another big thing is becoming comfortable and being uncomfortable. Like, I used to be so shy, and I would avoid any uncomfortable situations at all costs, business or social. And I think most people do that because it's the easiest thing to do. I call that like the path of least resistance, the direction in life which requires no effort. Like, to achieve great things, you have to take great sacrifices, make great risks, and oftentimes put yourself in uncomfortable new situations. And the more you do it, the more you realize that, failing in a lot of these situations is nowhere near as bad as you might have thought. And failing is important because it makes you realize it's not the end of the world. Sometimes it feels like you're taking a big risk, and if it fails, your life is done, but it's never the case. And it ends up being just that success is a state of mind where with time you become so confident in your sort of mindful awareness of the world and your surroundings and how things really work. And it just, something changes in your mind, and everything you do and everything you touch with positivity and with this sort of creative and passionate approach just starts turning to gold. Like, you start drawing other people that you never thought you'd meet into your social sphere because they're just drawn in by your success as well, and it just starts snowballing. And then it just opens up doors you never thought would be open to you. And it starts with a small idea, and it can grow into something just huge. And that's what happened to me. I never planned to build a company like this, but it just kept giving me purpose, and I kept enjoying the journey of building and going forward, pushing my own barriers. And that's what success is. And as long as I can keep doing that, I feel I will be successful. The day that I really don't want to go to work is the day that success ceases to exist for me. And I'll probably seek it in something else if that doesn't occur. And then the final word on all this, it's really important to understand that you need to change your routines and break patterns regularly. It's one of the reasons I love traveling so much and frequently. People ask me like, how can you like travel somewhere every week? I'm like, how can you not? Like, it's just so stimulating for the mind. It does wonders for like creativity and just and all that. So change your surroundings. Like if you're stuck in the same place for a year or two, time will just fly by and you'll be wondering what how is it that a year felt like a week. So breaking patterns and just changing my routines, my surrounding is really important to me, and I figured out that it makes me function way more better, it makes me way more creative. So that is why on this sunny Sunday in Krakow, we are going to not so sunny Oslo in Norway, where we're gonna be here for the next few weeks filming. So stay tuned. This is where the episodes will be coming out of Norway. See ya.